all the other sports, Kali. Welcome to an interesting episode, a new episode of the weekly Wowos. Last week we were outside in the Entebbe, at the Lakeside Oval in Entebbe, following the performance of the Cricket Cranes against 4 other nations in the Pearl of Africa series. Uganda, I will tell you, and I'm sure you've read it on Kawowo Sports, victorious in the series, defeating the very favored and fancied UAE side, 13th ranked in the world, but Uganda able to beat them in front of a very, very expectant crowd on Sunday evening at the Lakeside Oval. A very good series for them as they prepare for the T20 World Cup qualifiers. And I must tell you that I think the outside experience was a good one. Joseph, we should try this thing at one of those rugby grounds. I'm thinking maybe during this 7 seasons, Kabale wouldn't be, but I'm picking Kabale.
Kabale with Lake Bunyonyi in the background.
With Lake Bunyonyi in the background.
Yes.
I've been to Kabale once, and I wouldn't mind going back actually, because lovely place. And I think we've been there for one of those 7 seasons before. And I'm sure teams, when you're looking at the schedule, you're always thinking, when is the Kabale edition? Because for me, being there was a very good experience.
Yeah, I think Kabale last hosted the series in either 2021 or 2022. Yeah. Then they had been taking a break. I think it must have been 2021, because 2021 and 23 was Toro Sevens at Buhinga Stadium in Fort Portal. That was the western circuit of the series. Then last year it was Mbarara. So this year Rugby Sevens go back to Kabale, a very beautiful venue. That Lake Bunyonyi Safari Stadium pitch, whatever. Yeah, it's a very beautiful venue. You can you have a view of the hills in the background, a view of Lake Bunyonyi. So it's very beautiful. I'm excited to go there and to go to that particular pitch for the first time.
All right, a lot more of that coming up, because it's only a two-man show this week. My name is Dennis Musali, your usual weekly host, and I'm here with our resident rugby expert Joseph Man Muhumuza to tell you everything and all about the 7 seasons, the rugby 7 seasons, which kicks off this weekend. And of course, in the show we'll also get an update from one of the other resident panelists here, Franklin Kawowo, the editor of Kawowo Sports, who's in Abidjan. I don't know about his French, but he's in Abidjan following the Gazelles as they take part in the Afro Basket tournament. Before we came on, before we recorded this show, Uganda was taking on Southern Sudan. Very, very tense game, but I'm sure Franklin will give us an update on how that game ended. But just to start off things, Joseph, let me start with you. What's your starter from everything you've read on Kawowo Sports this week?
Thank you very much, Dennis. My starter for the week is, of course, the Coronation Sevens that are going to take place this weekend. That is Saturday and Sunday at the Chadondo Rugby Grounds. They were initially supposed to take place at the Mutesa Royal Stadium. That is at Wankulukuku, but then Wankulukuku was earlier on earmarked for Chan as a training ground. So, football guys don't share. So, but either way, in rugby we share. Of course, Chadondo is like, come, we host you, and then so that is my starter for the week. And why it is my starter for the week is because the criteria that they used to select the invitational sides. Just to explain to our audience that are not keen on rugby, they are, for the men's category there are 16 teams. But then there are 12 core teams and 4 invitational sides from that given region that is hosting that circuit. So why I'm personally excited is because last Sunday, while you guys were in Entebbe, I was at Chadondo Rugby Grounds. The mighty Impies were playing. They unfortunately lost to the Victoria Sharks in the final, but because they finished top 4, they get to represent the Central region as the invitational sides. So that's why Coronation Sevens is my starter.
Kaisiza wako, but
Kali personal.
Joseph Impis will be one of the teams in that tournament, and we were going to get into the detail of that. But also to remind you that we shall have our Chan show on Monday, where we shall preview everything that is going to be happening in the Chan tournament that is being hosted by Uganda. So we hope to have our resident football experts bringing you all the details, how many teams are going to be in Uganda, what time are the games, how much it is, and how you can be able to follow the Uganda Cranes as they compete against Guinea, South Africa, Algeria, and Niger. Those are the teams that are going to be playing with the Uganda Cranes in our Chan group here in Uganda. So make sure you don't miss it on Monday when we preview everything about the Chan tournament that kicks off on Monday, 8 p.m. Uganda will be in action against Algeria at the Nelson Mandela Stadium in Nambole. So that should be also an interesting game. And I think for the whole of August, somehow, I come from the sports world. I feel like all of us should have sort of either slowed down or shut down everything to just sort of allow the Uganda Cranes have their moment as they try and, compete against other teams in the Chan. It will be the first time for us to get out of the group. So I thought everything should come to a stop, especially in the sporting world, for all of us to try and be behind the Uganda Cranes and give them everything, that 12th man atmosphere, so that they can be able to progress from the group, especially when they are playing at home.
Of course, there is no denying that for most of us, football is our first sport and our first love. So obviously, we are supporting the Cranes. We are very well behind the Cranes. Personally, I'll be watching on TV, but I'm very sure that Nambole is going to be filled for a Monday night. Ugandans know how to show up for their teams. So yeah, they should be rest assured that Ugandans are behind them, and we are behind you, Alan Okello and your boys. We support you. So please, go and do this for Uganda.
Yeah, most certainly. Ugandans, we always show up for Ugandan cause. We saw what people did for the rugby Cranes in Nambole. In Entebbe last weekend, I was also very surprised. A lot of people came out to support the cricket. So let's make sure we all go down to Nambole and support the Ugandan Cranes when they start off their campaign on Monday evening. And good enough, the games are in the evening. So there is no excuse. After hustling, you just jump on a border, you're in Nambole, 10K. We'll get you in, and make sure we support the team. So I think it's been well done, especially by both government and FUFA, but the rest of the business has to be done by the boss. So hope they can be able to do the business starting on Monday. But leaving the Chan conversation aside, let's drive into the rugby conversation immediately. The 7th season starts this weekend. Joseph, first break it down for us. How long is it going to run, and where is it going to move? Usually it moves all over the country. First break down for us the 7 seasons before we go to the Coronations tournament this weekend.
Yeah, so sevens, rugby sevens. This is the shorter variation of the real rugby, the original rugby, which is the 15s. So sevens is usually played. For Uganda's scene, we play it across 7 circuits, and each region in Uganda is given a circuit to host. So, for example, the north, the east, the north will be having the Gulu Sevens, the east will be having the Ginger Sevens, that is Chabazinga Sevens at the Bugembe Stadium. Then the west will be having the Kabale Sevens, and then central, where it is all going to begin from, we'll be having the Coronation Sevens at that is Chadondo Rugby Club. And then there will also be other circuits in the central, like the Rujumba Sevens at Kings Park Arena, and also the Buffalo Seven, which is the last 7th circuit, that will be held in late September at Chadondo Rugby Grounds. So for the next 2 months, it's going to be action-filled rugby action for the sevens. But I would also like to sneak in there that on the 16th of August, we shall be having the Black Rock tour in Uganda. So the Black Rock, that is, they're from Dublin, Ireland. They will be playing against the Uganda All-Stars. So all the fans, you're encouraged to go online and, throw some names in the basket, maybe in the hat, some of the players that you didn't see play for the real Uganda Cranes, maybe they'll make it this time. So that's another interesting thing that is going to be happening this August, especially for the purists who prefer the rugby 15s. But for the sevens, it's going to be action-packed August and September.
So the cricket purists prefer Test cricket. Do you mean that rugby purists also prefer 15s rugby to 7s rugby?
Yes, some go as far as saying that sevens isn't actual rugby, that sevens is all about getting the ball and you run, whereas 15s is too technical. They are specialist positions. They are, plays that always happen in the 15s. Of course, in the sevens, you'll see a play like 1 or 2 plays here and there, but they are, I don't want to call them basic, because in my former days when I played a little bit of rugby, I wasn't playing sevens, so we respect the athleticism that those guys have. Yeah, it is still rugby.
I can imagine. I thought sevens, I think those of us who are not purists, sevens is easy on the eye, and it's very easy to understand things rather than the 15s game, but I'm slowly but surely catching up with the 15s game. And speaking about that Black Rock tournament, one could be on Yao, because Kawowo Sports is one of the partners on that one. So make sure if you're not able to go to Chadon where the game will be, you'll be able to watch the game live on Kawowo Sports. So make sure you continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes, Dennis. Kawowo Sports will be broadcasting that game. That is on 16th at 4 p.m. But also there will be some other activities that will be happening in Jinja. So Kawowo will also bring you that activities such as the fan rugby, that is rugby between the players and the fans, and also other legacy programs. So just stay tuned to Kawowo Sports. Everything will be coming to you live, and of course Musome Kawowo. The updates are always there
as usual. Then just to stay with the conversation and with the season starting off this weekend, today I sort of realized why it's called the Coronation Sevens, because the Kabaka of Uganda makes 32 years since he was as he ascended to the throne of the kingdom. So there are other tournaments that are also part of the coronation weekend. I think I saw a badminton tournament, and I just thought to myself, I think cricket needs to jump on this bandwagon as well, so that it's a pure ecosystem where the celebration, you're all in sync, and with the different sports. But and I saw the teams. I don't want to call it the captain's runs. Is it
captain's photo shoot?
Captain's photo shoot. Yeah, it happened at the Bulange, which I also felt it's a good touch between URIU and Buganda Kingdom to sort of make sure that the conversation is sync. It's not like we are just jumping on your bandwagon, but I mean there's an input from the kingdom, and of course knowing that Prince Wasaja is the patron of Ugandan rugby, so the conversation is clearly in sync. All the teams are coming out at the Bulange.
And the Prime Minister Okatikiro, Council Peter Maiga, he noted that one of the things that made him happy was, first of all, Buganda loves sports. You can look from the Masaza Cups and whatnot, but my main takeaway from his address, he noted that he was very happy to see some girls that were also going to play the sport, and maybe that is something that we can highlight, that they are going to be 8 women's teams at any given point during the sevens series. So that is a win for Ugandan rugby, and also kudos to Uganda Rugby Union for always trying to push women in sport.
Yeah, very true. Make sure always the girl child is not left behind. But speaking of the weekend, of the games that are going to start this weekend, of course, Heathens, the defending champions of the 7th season, but unfortunately they didn't come out on top in the 15s. How well? Let's talk about the favorites. I think let's talk about the favorites, because it's one of the things I like about the 7s is that it's a marathon. You could probably, you can pace yourself, you can lose the first 2 and end up winning the other 5 and eventually become a champion. Or I cannot even win any of the circuits, but as long as I've had good finishes in all of them,
consistent.
Yeah, I can
like
be able to.
Like the Ginger Hippos of 2023.
Exactly.
They were always finishing in the semi-final, final, and they only won 1 circuit.
Yeah.
That was the Buffalo Sevens at Chadondo. That's the only circuit they won. But because they had been accumulating points very well, and you could actually see the Ginger fans wherever we would go across the country, they would be celebrating, say, for example, when Heathens gets out from the semi-finals, when Cobs gets out in the quarterfinals. That was their joy. Like, now their points are reducing. For us, we are staying consistent.
Yeah.
So it's very important to perform well, even if you don't win the circuit, and make sure that after the seven circuits, you're somewhere favorable. So that's how, for example, also Heathens last year, they ended up losing the final circuit to, they lost to
Pirates.
In the Rujumba Sevens, that final, but they ended up winning the overall.
I felt like
by virtue
Pirates,
of just appearing
Pirates,
in the semi-finals, they had won.
With the celebrations Pirates had, you might have been confused as to whether they actually they won the whole circuit or they just won this particular leg.
But for us, that's what we want. Because I remember saying that I want Pirates to win the Rujumba Sevens, but lose the entire Sevens series. Because for Heathens to win, all they had to do was show up in the semi-final, win or lose, just appear in the semi-final, and then they appeared in the semi-final. So that means by lunchtime, Pirates knew they were not going to win. The only consolation was for them to win their own circuit. But let's speak about the favorites in this one. How, considering the teams that we all know very well, Pirates, Cobs, Heathens, and of course Ginger Hippos were in the final of the 15s this year. Who do you think, as the season starts, will come out, will be the consistent team? Let me put it that way. Will be the consistent team throughout the 7th season to be crowned the champion by the time you get to the Buffalo Sevens. You mentioned very strong sides right there, but unfortunately there is a side that won the 2010 Uganda Sevens League. Unfortunately, they are now playing in the championship, but I'm very sure that is Impis, for clarity. For clarity, that is Impis. 2010 champions.
You got me there. I wasn't even sure where you were going with that one. But
yes, that is Impis. But talking about the favorites, we can just look at the top 5 from last year. Last year, for me, Buffaloes was the standout team. They played beautiful sevens rugby, and that's how they ended up having some of their players, the Aaron Tukes, the Daniel Ozo team of this world. Liam Walker didn't make that squad. He was injured, but some of their players ended up playing at the Safari Sevens. Some snuck their way into, in a good way, into the 7th setup, which is a win for them. But when you look at the other favorites, for example, the Heathens are defending champions, and that should mean something. But in addition to being defending champions, now they have in their ranks the national team sevens coach, that is Atol Batonyango, who is their official coach as of May, when Athio stepped down. So you would think that a team like Heathens, with the players that they have and with that coaching staff, they are going to be unstoppable. Then you look at the Cobs. The Cobs have been a little bit silent, but you never rule out the Cobs in sevens. They have very brilliant players, and this year they are going to be captained by Josiah Sempeke, the man with a very beautiful left foot. He's going to captain that side. And also the Ginger Hippos, but for their issues that they have away from the pitch. I saw the team that is going to play this weekend at the
Ginger
Coronation.
Hippos is showing up? Who's in charge of the one showing
The real
up?
one. The one that the union knows is the one that is going to show up. So that Ginger Hippos also has a very good squad in there. There is a gentleman called Jacob Bochen, aka Angry Bird. He's back. He had been playing a little bit in the UK. Now he's back to play for them again. He has played for Uganda before. And then they have other stars. Yasin Waswa, who didn't make the cut for RAC. You have the Bright Mukisa as a very heavy ball carrier. So if you ask me for the favorites, I would definitely not rule out the defending champion. Of course, Pirates is a very good sevens team. In fact, Pirates can field 3 sevens teams on any given weekend.
Shall we be able to see Magom play more, or he's not really a sevens guy and he would rather stick to the 15s?
Magomu is a rugby player. The only thing that Magomu knows is rugby. Whether 7s or 15s, he's a very good rugby player. And some may argue that when they went for the World Cup, the Rugby Sevens World Cup in 2015, Magomu made that squad, and then some were bringing up the argument that Magomu is not a 7s player. Magomu should stick to 15s and whatnot. But this is rugby. And of course, when you come to the local scene with that Magomu magic, he can unlock any defense, and he has a team, a very good team of Pirates that has very many runners like Roy Chizito, formerly of Impis, runners like Luhoni Jonathan, also formerly of Impis, runners like Arnold Atukunda, Boda. So you need a player like Magom in your team.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. You really touched on the favorites, but I think one of the opportunities that Sevens gives to everyone is that there's a level playing field. You spoke about Buffaloes, but not among your favorites. Which are, apart from, the Coronation Sevens will have Impis. Should we say Impis is one of the teams that could be a potential banana skins for some of the big teams? I'm trying to remember a series. I don't know if it was Kitgum. I think it was one of those up-country series where all the top Kampala teams were out by I think they were out on Saturday. Then on Sunday they didn't have much to do apart from probably watch on the other games. I'm trying to remember. I'm not sure which one it was. But it was a big conversation. Everyone's like, hey, Kampala teams. Everyone expected you to come here and boss everything, but
that was the Toro Sevens. Toro Sevens were really tough, but usually the upcountry series are usually tough for especially the big dogs, and that's why it's very important for them to always
capitalize on the ones in Kampala.
Yes, capitalize on the ones in Kampala. Remember, Kampala has 4 circuits, upcountry has 3. So when you go upcountry, make sure at least you're in the final. At the very least, you're in the final. Then you come to Kampala and win. Then, for example, like in 2023, Heathens was frustrated by Impis, then also frustrated by Rams. They ended up playing at, they call it Sunrise Cup, at 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
So if at all you're not playing for the main cup, you have to play first, then Abaino Mulamwa they play next. You get, so teams usually try to avoid that so that they can show up at the pitch at maybe 9-10, warm up, and then begin the serious business of the day.
All right. Speaking of the potential teams that could cause could surprise teams this weekend, what are some of the teams that you think could, some will be like, hey, Joseph mentioned Impis. You see they're doing the business. What are some of the teams that could be potential banana skins for the big boys?
For example, when you look at Group A, Group B. Group B has the Pirates, they have Elgon Wolves, they have Ginger Hippos, and they have the Victoria Sharks. If you're looking for an upset, that group has all the upsets that can be there in this weekend's rugby. For example, when you look at the Victoria Sharks, they have very experienced players. They have, for example, Manano, who has played previously for the Uganda Sevens and the Cobs. They have the Emma Ochans and all those, the Morgans Odoch. So everyone is looking at the Victoria Sharks to cause an upset. But then I go back and say, watch the Elgon Wolves carefully. The Elgon Wolves, what they did last year when they came into the Sevens, they realized they're not a very good 15th team, and that's why they were relegated eventually. But what they were doing in the Sevens is making sure that at least they get someone to die with in their group. And that's how you find that a team like Warriors, a team like Warriors and Impis, who have been traditional teams in the Sevens, that's how they got relegated, because a team like Elgon Wolves came in and said, we are here to stay. So that's the thing that they would do. They would find one team and die on it.
All right. And that's Group B. And Group A, no surprises in Group A at all?
Group A, you have Heathens, you have Walukuba. That is pretty straightforward for me. But the other tough group is Group D. And Group D is the one that has Cobs, it has Mongas, it has Rams, and it has Impis. Now, when you look at that group, Cobs seem like the favorite, but you have a stubborn team like Rams. Rams can frustrate. Guys that watch Sevens know that famous tactic of Rams. What they do is, for example, when there is a ball carrier, so you're the one carrying the ball, they will arrest you and then bundle you up. Now the ball is dead and it has to be played because the game has to stay alive, and that's how you turn over possession to them. They do that with even the bigger teams. For example, you'll find about 5 small boys of Rams. They have bundled up like a Michael Okorachi, arrested him. So you find that there is a Rams in there. You find a rebuilding Impis. You find an Entebbe Mongas that you never know what they bring on the day. Mongas will it will be the same players this weekend and next weekend, but the performances will be at different ends of the spectrum. You'll find Mongas finishing in the final this weekend, and the next weekend they are fighting for the 10th and 9th place. You get? So that is a Mongas. So you don't know which Mongas is going to come this weekend.
Exactly.
So Group D is also a very tricky one. But then the Buffaloes group, that one is straightforward.
All right, and you just spoke about Rams, and just remembered last week they lost one of their own. Didn't die on the rugby pitch. Unfortunately, succumbed to cancer. Again, I don't know if there will be that sort of emotion that can inspire them over a weekend like this one.
First of all, rest in peace to Daniel Balam Lubangakeni. I remember he was a Rams player. He used to play for them prop and sometimes loose forward. That is the flank and eighth man. Balam was a very lovely guy. He was a guy who loved smiling. But then in around late 2021, we got some sad news from the Rams camp that Balam was struggling with colon cancer. And I think that was around the same time when we lost Coach Seguya also. So when there was that game between the Ginger Hippos and the Buffaloes, we organized the car wash. The people at Rams organized the car wash. We collected some funds, and Balam got the first surgery. Then he needed another one. I'm not sure whether he got it, but then he looked like he was getting better. But then, the Lord called him and he succumbed to cancer, which was very unfortunate. He was laid to rest yesterday. But getting back to the rugby, whether that will inspire them, first of all, Balam wasn't sort of like a sevens player, although he had played for them in their second team. Usually a second team, that's where you get people to just play around, maybe stay fit and whatnot, the second sevens team. But that could also be a factor that inspires Rams this weekend. Not to ignore the contribution of players like Hosanna Opileni, who was the top try scorer last year. Not only for Rams, but for Uganda in general. They have very many good players. They have Juko, they have Brian Wandeda, who has been playing with the national team as a flanker. So when you look at Rams, they have some really big hitters.
All right, I'm going to use this opportunity to give you 1 minute only. This time you're allowed to speak about the chances of Rams, of Impis. You're playing as an invitational side. Can you cause a surprise this weekend at Chadi?
Of course, Impis can beat any of the other 15 teams. That is a given. Okay, maybe not a given. The only team we fear is Pirates, because Pirates is literally half of Impis. They just keep stealing from us. So maybe some of those players go with our nuts. Who knows? So that is the only team maybe I could be cautious about. But going into the Coronation Sevens at Chadondo, we have Rams in that group, and of course, Impis and Rams. Anytime we find Rams,
Mulago Derby.
Makere Derby. Every time we find Rams, it's a contest. It's a contest. Then that very group we have Cobs. That's a bit tight, but I can tell you for sure that right now the focus for the four invitational sides for these circuits, especially the ones of the Central, their focus right now is to test out a few things here and there and see whether going into the second leg of the Central Sevens, whether they are ready enough in order to compete for the national qualifiers and gain qualification. So this tournament isn't a do or die for the invitational sides. They're just here to test themselves. And of course, when we held the Central Sevens last Sunday, the top four being promoted to play in the Central League, to play in the Coronation Cup. You can tell that these are the best four teams that are there in the local league. Now, you can't come into the Coronation Sevens, play all your best. Of course, you have to put your best foot forward, but now you can't have your best players getting injured when you have a more crucial league coming up. That is on the 17th of August at Chadondo. So I would argue that Impis will make the quarterfinals, but that's where we shall stop.
That will be as good as. So how does for a side like Impis, how do you get to be part of the Gorilla Sevens, the Chabazinga Sevens, or even the Sevens in Gulu? Or do you have to do well in Kampala for you to earn the right to play, on the road? Unless you've been invited exclusively. But what happens is now, for example, the Central has Chesubi Pacers, Victoria Sharks, Impis, and another team,
I mean, yeah. But then when you go to other regions, now like you go for the Gulu Sevens, Gulu is representing the northern region.
Yeah.
So you'll find teams from as far as Arua. You'll find, for example, the Kitgum Lions in there. You'll find the Gulu City Falcons in there who shall be hosting that circuit. You'll also find a sleeping giant like Gulu Elephants also in there. The same also happens in the east. When you go to the east, for example, in the east, Kakira will be representing.
Yeah.
They have Njeru Hurricanes, they have Mbale Elephants, and another team from around that region, maybe a team, maybe Soroti Rangers. So the chances are very slim, unless the organizers really tell you that we need you here as you know, as a must. But then there are enough teams in those regions to represent.
Oh, okay. Very well understood. I hope even all our viewers have been able to get that education. But also speaking, something else I wanted to find out. 7 circuits in about 2 months. How do the clubs manage? We saw some of the clubs struggling in the 15 seasons just to try and, make sure they can be able to pitch up for games. Is there support to the clubs? Because if you play in Kampala, then next weekend you have to go to Kabale. From Kabale, you're in Gulu. From Gulu, you're in Jinja. If you're going to go to play in Kabale, you will need at least, give or take, 4 days. 1 day of travel, then the 2 days of competition. Probably you leave that same night, or you decide to save Kamane, you say today Kampala. But ideally, you would want to rest a bit and then move the next day. So how do the clubs be able to sustain a full? Because for you to gain points, you need to show up for every circuit.
So what happens is the Uganda Rugby Union always provides a few subsidies here and there, and they are very careful to use the word subsidy in order not to make it look like a direct sponsorship. You get, because they can't ideally pay for everything. So they will give you like a subsidy of like 1.5 million, but then you'll find that you have to get to get a cost of around 800,000.
In a tourism city like Kabale, finding accommodation is 1.5.
Exactly.
You may sleep in your bus.
So yeah, so the clubs have to dig into their own pockets and top up on that subsidy that the Uganda Rugby Union gives them. For example, I remember a very beautiful story from one of our former colleagues here at Kawowo, that is Ernest. He wrote in Kawowo and broke down a budget of an individual player from preparation to going for the tournament and then coming back. And his breakdown reached around 180,000, and his benchmark was a Cobs player. I forget his name. It was a Cobs player that he used for that particular breakdown. So for example, when you come down to teams like, say for example, let me use Impis. I don't want to use any other team. So when you go to a lower side like Impis, of course that 180 will come down to like 100,000. But then you have 100,000 to accommodate 13 players plus like maybe 3 officials. So no saying a subsidy already covered.
1.3 is just in players. Okay, that's a bit difficult, but I think people find a way, because there's never been a circuit that has been abandoned because teams never showed up. This would be a circuit in Mbale. I don't know what happened, but the Mbale cricket ground.
And then this time it was moved to Mbale Municipal Pitch, somewhere like that. Yeah, we were there last year for that circuit. I remember Kawowo had very beautiful footage of that circuit. If at all someone goes to the Kawowo YouTube page, they can still find some of that footage. But yeah, Mbale this time didn't put in a bid. Now, interestingly, last year, the Chabazenga Sevens were regarded as a central circuit, and then Mbale was the eastern circuit. But now it has been changed to the Chabazenga Sevens to act as the eastern circuit. Then you find that the Kampala, the central region, has 4 circuits instead of 3.
All right. Usually the man of the numbers break it down for us this weekend. If I want to be in Chadi, how much should I be looking at to spend at Chadi for me to enjoy Sevens rugby this weekend?
Yeah. So the budget for this weekend is very simple. Please only use 50,000. So whether you're salaried or not, you can get 50,000 for this particular weekend. So take off the 20,000 for day 1 and day 2 for the tickets, and then day 1 and day 2 again you can get yourself eats, because you have to leave your home go lead day. Take a yenkokoto before leaving home. So day one and day two use a maximum of 10,000 on your eats. That is a chigere of 5k on day one, chigere, another chigere on day two. You get, then you'll have supper from home. But then the remaining 20,000 is for enjoyments. Tewe said for enjoyments. So that is 50,000 for you.
That's the budget spent there from Joseph. If you're going to watch the Coronation 7 this weekend at Chadono Rugby Club, the official 7 seasons are starting off this weekend as teams, as we don't know if we can find another champion or Ethans can be able to defend their own title. It will be happening at Chadi. But as always, and like Joseph mentioned, make sure also Kawowo for you to be able to keep up with the updates. But as we come to the end of our rugby show only this week, we have an update from our resident expert and editor, Franklin Kawowo, who is in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, who's going to be telling us how the Gazelles have been doing. They made us very proud. A big win for them, historical, I must say, against Senegal. The game had to go into overtime, but eventually Uganda running out winners of that one to earn themselves a slot in the quarterfinals, where they are taking on Southern Sudan right now as we do this recording. But let's hear from Franklin Kawowo, who is in Abidjan.
I've just been preparing for tomorrow's quarterfinal against either South Sudan or Egypt. And obviously, during this tournament, there have been some changes that have been made by Coach Nick Nareza that many of the fans didn't expect. Pelos Nyamwenga has been pointing the ball, and she has been doing it so well with pace and with a bit of grace. You expect a very competitive game from any of the teams that is going to come from this tie that is happening now behind me in the arena. But from the two practice sessions and during these 2 rest days that the Gazelles have had, what has been important is that the rest was very much needed. The girls have recovered. Everybody is looking sharp, shooting well, going through the drills that are going to be used in tomorrow's game, and you expect that the positivity that have been demonstrated during the warm-ups and the training before that game is going to reflect in the games probably. I think the win against Senegal was huge for the girls in terms of giving them confidence, and expect, I think, the best from the Gazelles. The confidence that they have in the team should be able to drive them to getting a win and getting to the semi-finals of the tournament, finally breaking that barrier that we had in 2023 in Rwanda.
Yeah, that's Franklin Kawowo with an update from Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast or Cote d'Ivoire. I don't know what comes easy for. Ivory Coast comes easier for me, but it is now modern day Cote d'Ivoire. Franklin Kawowo giving us an update from the Gazelles. Unfortunately for them, they won't be making the semi-finals because a heartbreaking loss to our neighbor Southern Sudan. I mean, 1 point loss for them. And that's the end of the journey for the Gazelles in Abidjan and in Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah, they played with a lot of heart. Of course, us who have been following from afar, that is on social media, we have been enjoying the content from Tony Kamau, Peter Tabu, and the rest of the media team. And then when it comes to the pitch, they played out their hearts against Senegal. And, maybe sometimes results do not go your way, but as long as you've shown us intent that you're doing deliberate things in order, to put up good performances, the fans can understand when the result doesn't go your way. Unlike some other teams that just don't show any, they just play.
I'm saying the expression of your face changing. But I mean, one thing I'm also starting to love, and from people who love sports in Uganda, is we were able to see a couple of fans in the stands really putting on the jerseys for the Gazelles, but also cheering. The Ugandan sports teams are starting to get people who follow them and follow them passionately, because most times those fans are not there because their federation has paid for them. People invest their own money to go and cheer for a team. And when they see effort, they will appreciate. Of course, they would want you to win, but at least if they see effort, they will appreciate. So I'm starting to love the spirit of Ugandan sports fans.
And you know, one of those fans is Melissa Akulu's mom, Mama Melissa. It's always good to see that your first fan is your parent. It's always refreshing. For example, in
I
rugby,
think Melissa will need it because I think she's the one who missed those free throws. That could have gotten us a win against Southern Sudan.
For example, now like in rugby, I think Jones Kamiza's dad is the most, not the second most, right after Liam Walker's dad, as one of those parents that are really supportive of their kids. It's always amazing to see the parents coming through for their kids and supporting them, not just steering them away from sport, but actually actively supporting them, following them around. And interestingly, Melissa Akulu is the sister to Coach Marvin Odong of the Pirates.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's a really sporting family.
Yeah, it's a proper sporting family, and it's good to show that, to see that there's support from the parents. Very, very heartbreaking for the Gazelles, but hopefully they'll be able to bounce back. And I'm sure Franklin, when he's back, I don't know when, he may just cross over and go to Angola, where the Silverbacks will also be competing in the Afro Basketball Tournament. Their team named sometime this week. Ish Wainwright is on that team. But Franklin will be able to come back and break down the detail in that team and what our expectations are at the Afro Basket for the men this time. That will be in Angola, Luanda, Angola. But that has been our time this week. We'll be back next week. I promised you a Chan update on Monday from our resident football experts, where we shall be breaking down the Chan tournament that is being hosted by the 3 East African countries, Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. And the football kicking off in Uganda on Monday. The Uganda Cranes will be in action against Algeria at 8 p.m. Evening football. Should be very, very interesting at the Nelson Mandela Stadium in Nambole. So make sure you miss that conversation on Monday for you to get to know everything that you'd want to know about the Chan tournament. I don't know if Joseph can break down for us the numbers for how much do we need to go and watch Chan. But I've told you it is only 10K for you to be able to, and that 10K allows you to watch both games at the Nelson Mandela Stadium. So make sure you go, grab your friends and go out and support the Ugandan Cranes. I've had Joseph Man Muhumuza, your resident rugby expert. Yes.
Just one small thing before you leave this conversation. The Uganda All-Stars team unveiled Michael Korach and Coach Kevin McMott as captains and coaches, and they're going to be unveiling more the rest of the squad. You can also put in your suggestions for some of the people you'd like to see in that squad. That is on their social media handles at UG Rugby All-Stars. So just get in there and see the updates, join the conversation. Then my last bit, this is for Franklin. You mentioned that Chan, you'll be paying 10,000 for 2 games. Yeah. And then I ask, if at all you're to pay 5,000, will they first empty the stadium and say now pay for the next game? that whole argument of you're getting multiple games for one price doesn't hold water for me.
Yeah, but it was the same thing with the rugby. You are paying 30K for, I think, all the 3 games.
For 4 international games. We are here for Uganda.
For 4 international games.
So, and then someone asked, so is it now 7,500 for last weekend when the UAE was playing Namibia at the same venue?
No, cricket, we still don't have a cover charge yet. We are not there yet. We are still building our value so that people can
your
be able
quality.
I don't know, quality is there. We beat Kenya. We beat
your quality.
Kenya.
Hi, Davis of the quality.
Guys are hating. Davis, you told people that the quality of the people will come out. People are going to have you next time you visit our office at Kawowo Sports. But that has been our conversation this week on the weekly Wowos. Make sure you don't miss the conversation on Monday about the Chan update. But and as always, I've had Joseph Man Muhumuza for the rugby conversation, and I've been your weekly host, Dennis Musali. Fred, our producer behind the scenes. As always, make sure you keep reading Kawowo Sports, and see you next time. Davis told you guys the quality. The quality.